And it looks like we're live. Let's wait on John for a second here. Bawana Beast behind the scenes, pulling in the Facebook group. Make sure everything's good to go. And we got the thumbs up, green check marks across the board. Mile high hello, everybody in Broncos country. And welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I'm your host, Lance Sanderson. And joining me, as per usual, is my good friend and colleague. He is your Denver Broncos insider and Mile High Huddle's senior NFL draft analyst, the one and only Erick Trickel. Erick, dude, there's a lot of news going on with the Denver Broncos. I mean, we've got the Jerry Jeudy comments that were happening and whatnot. You've got the rumors with Deshaun Watson, Kareem Jackson. Like it's just been completely wild in Broncos country here lately. Are you keeping up with everything, man? How you doing?
The Jeudy comments I don't care about. Not a big deal to me. The Kareem Jackson stuff doesn't really matter because he doesn't make a decision. It's nice that he's trying to bring him in, but he's not a decision maker. So it may seem like a busy news cycle. For me, it's not. I just don't care really about what's going on, not until some news happens. I think the biggest piece of news is what was involved with their talks for trying to get Matthew Stafford, but yeah, that's something else. Other than that, everything's going good. It's been relatively nice up here in Alaska weather-wise and looking nice, ready for the spring, and just ready to keep going with the draft stuff, ready to really dive into it over the next few months. I mean, I know we've started to, but now is when things really dive deep. We do have free agency that we will have to talk about, unfortunately, there for a while, which I do think Denver will be not very active.
Yeah, they're hibernating.
But yeah, draft. I mean, our scouting reports are coming out. I know you sent one in. I'm still a couple weeks out on mine, and we got 150 players split up between the two of us.
Yeah. I actually would like to switch you one. I'll give you Joseph Osai if you give me Azeez Ojulari, because I already got that one typed up. I typed that one up and sent it to you a while ago. So I would I'll switch you that one straight across the board. But no, this is great. This is your time of the season, man. We're gonna let you shine today. We've got, as Dylan coming in here saying that we've got the Draft Sleeper podcast. We've got a bunch of sleeper players, late round guys, guys that people aren't necessarily talking about, that Erick here has done immense deep dive work on, guys. Like seriously, this guy starts watching film in like July of some of these guys and getting his boards and stuff built up, and he's got a whole bunch of May. He says
basically as soon as the draft's done, I start looking at next year guys. But yeah, sleepers are what I like. I like finding these late day 3 guys or day 3 guys in general that nobody's talking about and end up becoming good NFL players or have that great chance to be something good in the NFL. One of my biggest ones was I can't remember his name now. He was a wide receiver, and he ended up going on and being really good for quite a few years. And some injury bugs happened, and kind of fell off. But yeah, definitely had my finds, and it's where I like. It's where I put my most work in. Is finding these later guys, because also everybody knows who Trevor Lawrence is. How many people know who Peyton Ramsey is? Everybody knows who Jalen Waddle is. But how many people can sit there and tell me about Jonathan Adams from Arkansas State? I just love being able to get this information, doing my work, and being able to share it with people who some of those who care and some of those who obviously don't. But hey,
yeah, it is what it is. And I actually enjoy doing this stuff, because not only do I learn a lot about just the process of what you do, I learn a lot about all these players. Like, there's a lot of players we're going to talk about today. There's a few that I have never even heard of. So we'll get into that here in just a few minutes, guys. But before we get started on this, we got to say hello and thank you to our presenting sponsor of today's show, Manscaped. So listen up, fellas. 2020 obviously was terrible, and 2021 is, I mean, it's new year, new me time, but it's not necessarily starting off on the right foot. But that new year, new me mindset, and the best way to start cultivating that is with Manscaped. They're the best products you can get in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. So guys, if you let yourself go in 2020 while you were quarantined, Manscaped is here for you to reboot and stay clean and shaved in 2021. Now, Erick, I know you got the Lawnmower 3000 right there. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
Well, first I'm going to sit there and talk about their little travel bag that they like to call the Shed. It's really nice. It's got pretty good size, and if you're traveling a lot, this is a good thing to keep all your grooming stuff, your toothpaste, deodorant, all your bathroom stuff in, because it's got really good size, as well as your Manscaped products, like your Lawnmower 3000, which it also comes with this nice little carrying bag that you can put in there. And it's a wonderful little thing. It's just very simple to use, very easy. Press a button, you go, get a little light on it, and just get to work trimming up down there. And it's very safe. It's very simple. Doesn't cause me any harm or anything like that. And just able to get through things quickly. There's also a pair of fingernail clippers that I don't mind. And you can get lotion for it. You can get a little spray thing, and both of them smell pretty nice, and they help the feeling down there a little bit. And just some really good products from Manscaped.
Yeah, man, they're not bad at all. This little nail trimmer kit here, I was kind of playing with the nail clippers. You got a set of tweezers, some scissors to trim your nose hairs and stuff like that. Keep yourself pretty well groomed up. But guys, the easiest way to get all this stuff, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Guys, embrace the new year and the new me mindset with Manscaped. Again, 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your boys are going to thank you. Happy New Year to you and your boys. Now, Eric, let's dive right into this, because right at the very top of the list Eric sent me a list of like 35 guys or 30 guys.
Oh, 31.
It seemed like a million when I was trying to read through it. I promise you guys. Like Eric has so many different prospects that he's looking at. And there's one right at the very top of the board in Stanford quarterback Davis Mills, who is a guy that not necessarily everybody's talking about. I believe he's a senior that's already graduated, still has some eligibility to return left. So we're not exactly sure if he's going to declare for this draft. Now, Eric, we all know Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, the Mac Jones hype and whatnot going on. Is it because of the fact that those guys are in this class that he's not getting the credit that he deserves? Or what are the traits that we're looking at here?
Well, first thing to clear up is that everybody has, because of what's going on, every player can decide to return to school. They have to decide by March 1st. So he's a graduating senior, so he can still decide to opt back in, get another year, which it may not be that bad of an idea for him. And even though he started to hire a trainer and go through the draft process, but more on that in a second. And I think that the reason why he's not getting talked about enough isn't just because of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, all these top 5 quarterbacks. I don't think it's just because of that. I think that the biggest thing is the injuries. He's played in 14 games during his collegiate career, getting only real action in 11 of them because he's had to keep coming out. He got hurt, missed time because he had ended up getting what the thing we're not allowed to say on here, all that stuff. So he had to miss some time with that. So there's definitely a lot there. And that could be a reason why he does decide to go back, is put this better body work together. And next year's class is viewed as a deeper class, but it doesn't have the talent at the top. If he goes back, has a great year, he can probably cement himself as a top 5, top 10 pick. Because honestly, the traits that he has, they're all there to be a top 10 pick. What is keeping him back is from the games he missed, the lack of experience that he has. And in my opinion, just based off of the traits that he has, he would definitely be in the conversation for a top 5 quarterback in this class if he didn't miss as many games as he did due to knee injuries.
Yeah. Knee injuries always suck with the quarterback position. Is he a pretty decent athlete, a decent mover? I haven't really dived into any of his tape.
He's solid. He's not a guy that's going to wow you with it, but he's a guy who can definitely use it to help out your offense.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a question here from Jason O'Neill. I'm going to grab this and kind of segue into this next question that I have for you about Davis Mills. Have some of Locke's teammates thrown in the towel on him as the future for the team? It seems that all of these videos are media driven. Any opinions on that? Now, there's some smoke here. I think it's more smoke than anything. And why wouldn't you want to say good things about one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in like a Deshaun Watson, and that's kind of where this hype is all coming from. The Broncos kind of let their actions speak a little bit more than their words do. I mean, they publicly say that they like Drew Lock, but they were heavily invested in the Matthew Stafford sweepstakes, and they're probably going to take another look around the NFL to try to upgrade the quarterback position. Now, whatever you think of Drew Lock, whether you think he's going to be top 10, if you think he's going to bust out, doesn't necessarily matter. The fact of the matter is this: the Broncos are actively trying to upgrade the quarterback position, whether it's Drew Lock or if it's Jeff Driscoll. They're going to bring somebody in for some competition here. Now, say that the Broncos don't necessarily like Drew Lock and Davis Mills is actually available. Does he have a legit shot to be like a Russell Wilson or like a Tom Brady, one of those late round guys that kind of grows into a potential starter in the NFL to have some success? Or is he really more of just a developmental guy that's just going to kind of bolster up the tail end of the quarterback room?
No, I think with the traits that he has, he can definitely be one of those guys that can come in be that day two, day three pick and be successful in the NFL. And the fact of the matter is that's a rarity in the NFL. So a lot of quarterbacks have had those traits to do that and gone on to fail just because it just doesn't happen all that often. And the biggest thing with him is, again, those injuries. So if he can stay healthy and those traits are there, I could definitely see it. But it's going to be a matter of how healthy is that knee, and can he stay out there on the field? Because as the saying goes, the best ability is availability.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of hard to make the club in the tub, and we've seen that. I mean, I got into a conversation with Luke Patterson the other day about Justin Sternat and his availability and stuff like that. Like, at least he's an option the Broncos have at the linebacker position for, the 2022 season, or excuse me, 2021 season. And I mean, if you're hurt, you can't make the team. Obviously, you're not going to be able to play. So, I mean, yeah, if you're hurt, you have those knee injuries, and even if the traits are there, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have success. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. Now, John, you've got some super chats here. Muhammad Badri jumping in here on super. Greetings, hello. Where's the super sticker? Come on, man. You're slipping on your pimpin'. Slipping on your pimpin'. I appreciate you for joining the show, guys. Also, for everybody else here, Cody Daly on YouTube, Robert Caslow, a super huge fan of the show, Chase Wellner in here. Already gave the shout out to Jason O'Neill, Darab Qureshi coming in here, Leslie Kitchener. Let's see here. Who else is here? We've got CC in the house, Greg Smith. I got another super chat here from Malcolm Brown up in Homer, Alaska, I do believe. Which position groups have you guys had the most success and difficulty projecting to the NFL? Hashtag Erick's Sabak Fund. Sabak Fund. Okay,
it's a Star Wars thing.
It's a Star Wars thing because I'm not familiar with the Star Wars lingo and whatnot. I have actually, just to answer this question first, I've had the most success trying to find wide receivers. I will say that I played tight end and wide receiver in high school, had some college offers as well. So I got a kind of a decent idea of what's going on at the wide receiver position. And I do a pretty good job of projecting where they're going to be. Erick, what about you?
The one that I have the hardest time with is quarterback. There's just so much that's involved with it. And a lot really does depend on going to the right scheme, going to the right system, going to having the right people around you. There's so much involved in there that it is a little bit hard to project them and everything. Just so much involved. Like Paxton Lynch, he was so highly touted, and his coaches at Memphis praised him for his work ethic. He gets to the NFL and he just wants to play Madden all the time. So it's definitely a lot of work there. Where I have the most success is really in the trenches, the offensive line and defensive line and edge rushers. That's where I pound my chest with where my specialties, I guess. When it comes to scouting, I do have a little bit of issues when it comes to wide receivers as well. But that's just because I really value my personal preference over some of the traits and everything like that. And so it's not that I just got to balance that out. But yeah, offensive lineman is probably my best, probably followed by edges and then interior defensive lineman. Obviously, I've had some big misses. A lot of people have, but I've had some big hits. I remember I can't remember what year it was, but Erick Flowers was the big guy, and a lot of Broncos country wanted him.
Yep.
And I was sitting there saying, like he's not a tackle, he's a guard, and he's gone on to be all right player. Moved inside a guard at tackle, he was a complete failure.
He was.
Jermaine Ifedi was another one who, I didn't think very highly of him. Cam Robinson was a guy that I thought was guard. He's been struggling at tackle for the Jaguars. We'll see if he ever gets a chance inside a guard. So yeah, it's
let me give
offensive line is the one where I really pound my chest though.
Let me give everybody a big hit that you had, because you were pounding the table for both Ben Bredesen and your boy Michael Onwenu, who went on to, I think, make the all rookie team this year at guard for the Patriots, and absolutely played phenomenally. Muhammad coming back in here with that super sticker. John, you got that to pull it up here? Because he says this one's specifically for Lance. It's the pair that says cool. Thanks, man. We appreciate that. Now, Erick, let's get back to our sleepers here a little bit, because there's one that's really intriguing here. It's CJ Marable, the running back from Coastal Carolina. The Broncos have some issues in the future. This is more of a future need pick. Yeah, they need to have a guy that can come in and help bolster some depth as well. But I mean, we've got Melvin Gordon potentially going to be suspended. We are not exactly sure when that's going to come down, but he's going to be suspended for a DUI. Royce Freeman has not lived up to his draft status as a third-round running back, and then obviously Phillip Lindsay's a restricted free agent. So CJ Marable, running back out of Coastal Carolina, is this a guy that you think that can project to be like an every down, 3-down running back for the Broncos, or is he going to be more of a gadget player? What do you think?
I don't think he's got what it takes to be the bell cow in a stable of backs, but he definitely has what it takes to be a three down running back as that number 2 guy who can come in and give the number 1 guy a break and everything. Offers up the quickness and the agility as a receiver, as a runner, really good vision. Does like a little bit of power and strength to his game, which leads to some issues in pass protection. But that's not where you want to use him at. Really, ideally you're running the ball with him or having him run a route. Playing him to his strengths. But yeah, the speed and the explosion that he has, he's probably more explosive and has that extra gear that Phillip Lindsay doesn't have, and could really be that great replacement for Phillip Lindsay, who I don't think is with the Broncos next year.
No, I don't think so either. It would be quite honest if he's with the Broncos this year. Honestly, they're going to place a tender on him. I would imagine probably an original round tender, right of first refusal deal. See if somebody comes and bites on that. Maybe see if you can't make a trade for like a 4th or 5th round pick. I don't necessarily see that happening. I also don't see them placing a 2nd round tender on him. Unfortunately, I know he's a fan favorite. Back-to-back 1,000 yards years. He's been dealing with some injuries there as well. It's just really hard. I know, Eric, you actually had a thing a while ago, and Phillip Lindsay just missed the cut on this. It was with running backs with over 1,000 career touches in their college career, pretty much flame out at the NFL level. Other than there was a couple of
very few exceptions, and it's one of those things. It's like those late round quarterbacks or those non-first round quarterbacks. While there are some successes, there are some hits. They're the exception, not the rule. And running backs with over 1,000 touches tend to be a failure. That's the rule, and the exception is those few who happen to go on and do something. And I got a question for one of the people in the chat real quick, and it's Gilster. Is that a Mandalorian helmet as your profile pic?
Speaking of running backs, I'm going to grab this comment here from our pal. Actually, excuse me, the stream just jumped here. Our pal coming in on YouTube, he says, who would be a better fit for the Broncos, Max Borghi or other running backs from the University of Buffalo? Max Borghi, to me, is a lot in the same mold of a Phillip Lindsay.
He went back to Washington State.
Oh, he did go back? Okay. Yeah. But Jarrett Patterson is phenomenal. That guy is absolutely amazing. And I do think he can be a bell cow back. He's got enough receiving chops and is a really decent pass protector. But between the tackles, and he fits what what Pat Shurmur wants to do as far as their running scheme goes, some more power gap stuff. This kid's going to be phenomenal. And as a late round pick for the Broncos to come and bolster some depths and maybe take over for Melvin Gordon after the 2021 season is over, that's a good fit to me. Eric, what do you think?
I really like Jarrett Patterson. I didn't want to put him on my sleepers because to me he's not a sleeper.
Right.
I watch him and I just see so much reminiscent of Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah.
So much of it. That small statue, but well built and able to do a lot of different things that you need on your offense. Definitely a big fan of Jarrett Patterson.
Yes, of course, because I'm a Mandalorian. Gilster coming back in here to respond for you. Attaboy. Our favorite profile picture on YouTube, Base Gates jumping in here, $5 on the super chat. Thoughts on J.C. Horn and Jalen Phillips if we indeed trade back into the 20s? Eric, I'm going to let you take the reins on this one because I'm not necessarily sure exactly on your take on J.C. Horn, but it seems to me like you're not necessarily a scheme fit guy for the Denver Broncos.
He's one that there's a little bit of projection there, and I know a lot of people rip me because of my thoughts on Patrick Surtain and him not being a scheme fit. But J.C. Horn and him are very similar. They're both press man corners. Mm-hmm. But with J.C. Horn, I've seen some of the traits that might be able to sit there and transfer over into an off zone coverage. I haven't with Surtain, so it wouldn't be one that I feel comfortable taking. If I'm trading back into the 20s and I'm looking at a cornerback, I'm definitely looking at Eric Stokes over J.C. Horn. I think he's a guy who he has that scheme versatility that you want, especially if the Broncos may be making a coaching change after this year, can play an off zone, can play an off man, can play press man even. He just has that scheme versatility. So that's the way I'd be looking at that. And then Jalen Phillips, I'd be a little bit concerned because he had a concussion that caused him to medically retire before he transferred to Miami.
Yep.
So that would be a concern, especially with the fact that there's no combine to really get those. There's other things that they're doing to get the medical answers that they need. But that's something that at least gives me a pause. I'm sure if a team drafts him in the late first round, they've done their homework and they're fine with that risk. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit interesting of an option there because dude's super athletic, but injuries were a concern, caused him to fail at UCLA, medically retire after
that concussion. So Jalen Phillips is hard to me because on tape he's actually very good. He's a dominant edge defender. He's good against the run, a very good pass rusher as well. But again, like Eric said, just the medical questions there. If I'm taking a Miami edge defender in this draft, just because you saw him on tape, he played all the way through. He transferred from Temple, but Quincy Roche is the guy that I'm really looking at. He needs to bulk up. He's a little thin in the frame, but the speed's there. The counter moves are there. He can bend pretty well. He gets blown out in the running game quite frequently, honestly, in my opinion. So that's going to be an issue for him to work on. But fifth round pick or something like that, I could see Quincy Roche being the guy. I would rather take a guy that you've seen on tape and seen him have success, and then take a jump and still continue that success from Temple to the University of Miami. But Gregory Rousseau scares the holy hell out of me because he is such a projection. It's incredibly raw. He wins with that length, strength, and athleticism, and the tools are there, the traits are there. Just the refinement that you didn't see with him at Miami, and then he took that year off. How did he grow? And that's the thing that I really want to know. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see that this year. So it's just a hard projection for me. And as far as like the number 9 overall pick, which is where he's projected to go, is the top 5 to 15 picks, somewhere around in there. That's just a hard bargain for me, and I'm not necessarily sure I'm really willing or ready to take that risk. We got a couple more super chats. I'm gonna let those ride for just a few minutes because we got a long list of prospects for you guys to go here. I see you down there, John. Frank Darby, wide receiver out of Arizona State, had a huge week at the Senior Bowl. Now, Eric, I know that you hyped him up last week in our Senior Bowl, the guys that made our top money makers. Where is his draft stock right now after that?
I think he was looking at possibly being a late day 3 pick, probably 6th or 7th round. His limited catch range is something that's hard to overcome because that's something that's just natural. It's not something that you can really coach to improve. But I think that he showed improvements as a route runner. He showed that ability to be a possession receiver, showed a good leaping ability. I think he's definitely helped himself a little bit. He might crack early day 3, round 4, maybe late day 2 of round 3. But I think this receiver class is enough to keep him down from being a for sure top 3 round pick. But he definitely has a slim chance to crack that 3rd round.
Yeah. What about Austin Watkins, that wide receiver from Alabama, Birmingham?
I think he helped himself quite a bit as well. The biggest thing for me was that I didn't see the route running when I watched him on tape. And when he got to the Senior Bowl, his routes were really clean and crisp. Yeah. He's a bigger guy. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 210, 215 pounds. Kind of tall and lanky, kind of build to him. Rather similar to Tim Patrick with his build, actually. And the routes were just phenomenal at the Senior Bowl. And he answered a lot of questions there. He's a guy that I think would have gone undrafted, but now he's like Darby. I think he's probably early day 3.
Really? Okay. So you kind of took a question right directly out of my mouth because I was going to follow up that with the Austin Watkins. Of the wide receivers that you sent me, we weren't going to talk about a bunch of them. Darby, Dax Milne from BYU, Austin Watkins, obviously. Of the guys that you sent me of the sleeper picks outside of like Sage Surratt, who was a guy that I really like, which is the one that could potentially replace Tim Patrick, because the Broncos actually do need to address the wide receiver position, in my opinion. Obviously, you've got Tim Patrick on that restricted free agent tender. You've got Cortland Sutton coming into a contract year coming off of a torn ACL. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy and you got KJ Hamler in there as well. But Deshaun Hamilton is another guy potentially on the outside looking in, even to make the roster this year. Is there a late round guy? So you said Austin Watkins kind of profiles the same as far as the body type. Is there another guy that you're potentially looking at to replace that same kind of receiver in Tim Patrick?
Actually, yeah, one of the receivers that we didn't plan on talking about, Jonathan Adams out of Arkansas State. I think he's got a similar mold, similar body style, similar play style. Has decent speed to stretch the top off the defense, has the leaping ability to go get it. His routes, they're not great, they're just all right. Knows how to use his size, knows how to use his positioning. Very Tim Patrick-like in his play style.
Yeah. Dylan Von Ark's coming in here. He's saying Jalen Darden, the wide receiver from North Texas, who Kenneth Booker actually just dropped his first article for Mile High Huddle. Check that out, milehighhuddle.com, called Jalen Darden a sleeper pick for the Broncos. Go check out his analysis, give him a click, give him a view, and support your there it is, Bawana jumping in here. Support the newest member of the Mile High Huddle clan here. How about TJ Vasher coming in, our Powell again. TJ Vasher, wide receiver from Texas Tech, Eric.
Yeah, hard pass. Guy is super tall, super lanky. Doesn't use his size the best to box out corners. Right now, he's just a jump ball getter in the red zone. Routes are completely unrefined. Don't see any of the ability there. Just needs a lot of work. Very lanky, doesn't have the strength to hold up. Allows people into the catch point consistently. It's just a hard pass. He's definitely a guy who's a project. Honestly, what I feel when I watch him is that he's probably going to land on a practice squad, might bounce around practice squads for 2 years and then be out of the NFL.
Yeah. A poor man's Wes Welker has the same skill set from Black Knight here on YouTube. Darden actually kind of fits that as far as the sneaky slot receiver. He has the ability to take the top off vertically, though. He's got enough speed to be able to do that. So that's an added weapon that you could get there. Let's see here. Diami Brown's another guy that I really like that could potentially fill that Wes Welker role. Eric, what do you think?
For the Wes Welker role, there's no one that's really a great poor man version of him, because all of them offer up more athleticism, more versatility than Wes Welker did. That one's actually a little bit hard, just because there's not one that really fits that kind of play style, that fits his mold or anything like that. I can't think of one. They all offer up more.
Yeah. I'm going to grab these super chats really fast. One from Muhammad first. You guys are awesome. Eric, I always enjoy your breakdown of the draft. And then grab the one from it's the next one down here, John. I got it from Levi. Eric, always great work with the draft. Is there a draft analyst that you look up to or think that they are cut above the rest, other than yourself, of course?
I try not to admire any draft people, but there's definitely some that I really enjoy their work. I enjoy what they do. Jordan Reed of the Draft Network, he's one that whenever he puts something out, I always tend to look at it. And then Lance Zierlein, he works with NFL.com. He's another one. I always listen to what he has to say. Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, those guys. But the one who I probably have the most respect for and everything like that, and whose opinion I value quite a bit, is probably my colleague Nick Kendall's. I really have the utmost respect for him and what he does. And I enjoy loving talking draft with him, because he always challenges what I think and my viewpoint, and does so in a great manner. And has me gone back and checked out people and changed my opinions on them a little bit. And I just have the utmost respect for him. Just don't tell him that.
Yeah, we flip Nick a lot of crap in our group chat. It's actually quite fun, because it's annoying little Nick, and he always has some of the most wild. But in his defense,
still hasn't watched Futurama, so I'm mad at him.
Yeah, well, in his defense, he actually will say multiple times he refuses to live in an echo chamber. So his takes on Patrick Surtain are his own takes. He's not taking it from anybody else. That's his take. So get at him, and Nick Kendall MHH on Twitter. Get after him and go argue with him, because we like to do that as well. Another guy you didn't mention that I actually had a really good conversation with the other day, Dane Brugler of The Athletic, is a guy that I really admire him. Base case, I'm not going to answer this question here yet, because I think we're going to probably dive into something like this here, maybe even next week. We talked about doing it this week. What sort of players did the Vikings draft compared to the Broncos? The Vikings have had plenty of mid-round success compared to Elway. So I don't want to necessarily grab this, because I want to do a little bit more research. Eric, go ahead, but I want to do a show on this. I really do.
The Vikings have shown that they draft to fit the coach's scheme. That's always been the case with them. With Rick Spielman, he always drafts to fit the coach's scheme. Current coach, whether they're getting fired or not, or they're getting replaced, retiring, it's always drafting to fit the scheme that's on both sides of the ball. With Gary Kubiak, him over being a consultant, then the offensive coordinator, they drafted to fit Gary Kubiak's scheme. They drafted to fit Mike Zimmer's. Yeah, Zimmer's.
Yep.
His defensive scheme.
Yep.
That's been a big thing for them, and they value draft picks. Last 2 years, they've had like 13 picks 2 years ago and 15 picks last year. They value picks. They value darts.
Yeah, no, and he actually said that
later, definitely. But yeah, that's just a real quick, simple answer.
Yeah, he actually said that in his opening press conference that the more darts you have to throw at the board, the more likely you are to hit a bullseye. So that might give you a hint at potentially what he might be looking to do here. Florida State safety Hamzan is a real dean, as a guy I really like, super long, super physical, decent athlete. His hips are very good. He likes to lay the wood. I like this kid a lot. He would be a guy that I could think of as like a 3rd round, maybe 4th round safety. I think that's probably about the area that he goes, but he's still not my boy. Everybody knows, if you listen to the Dove Valley Deep Divers, we stand Richie Grant in this house. Okay. To get back to
one more question I want to grab here, since we're talking about Patrick Good placements. Marquez Stevenson and Tony or Kadarius Toney out of Florida are the best Patrick Good placements. Not if you're looking for play style. Yeah, and that's what the question was. It was about the replicating the play style of Tim Patrick, and Kadarius Toney and Marquez Stevenson are nothing like Tim Patrick in play.
No, they're not even close to the same body type. Kadarius Toney is a jitterbug kind of an athlete. Honestly, if you're looking for a guy that you could compare side by side to Tyreek Hill without the explosive athleticism, Kadarius Toney is it. Like that's the guy right there. So let's get back to this conversation here, Eric, because we still got 10 guys that we want to kind of talk to you guys. What's up, Broncos fan 13? How you doing? Now, let's see here. I got to pull up my phone because I had a question here specifically, because the next 2 guys that we have here are Josh Ball, the offensive tackle from Marshall, and Cordell Volson, the offensive tackle from North Dakota State. Now, if you guys were paying attention last week and watching the show, Eric and I actually had a conversation. He asked us in our group chat if anybody had watched Cordell Volson. I turned on the Central Arkansas tape from him from 2020, 2020, excuse me. And was watching this guy. I was like, God, am I crazy, or is this kid Garrett Bowles? Like, he really looks like Garrett Bowles, same athletic type. So I put it in the group chat. He's Garrett Bowles as a run blocker. And Eric said, what did you say?
That's exactly why I asked. Cordell Volson is Garrett Bowles 2.0. The rawness, the power, the athleticism, not so much the attitude and stuff like that, but I mean, certain parts of the attitude. He definitely has that bully mentality on the field, but other aspects to it, like, they're carbon copies, man.
They really are. Like, you watch him move, their body type, the way that he hits, the way that he's aggressive. He's always looking for contact. And you know what? I'm actually impressed with him as a pass protector. Now, to go to Josh Ball here, Eric, who does Josh Ball remind you of the most?
So do you know how big Josh Ball is?
No, I do not.
6'8", 350 pounds.
So he doesn't remind you of nobody.
Orlando Brown.
Yeah, I was going to say Orlando Brown. As soon as I said, wait, Orlando Brown is a huge.
He reminds me quite a bit of cross of Orlando Brown and Trent Brown, actually. Trent Brown, one of the things that makes him work is that he's got pretty quick feet despite his size, and Josh Ball has those quick feet. And then Orlando Brown, he makes up for slower feet with great technique, and Josh Ball is actually coming in with pretty good feet, or pretty good technique, I mean. So he's definitely a cross between there. Playing at Marshall definitely was a bit of flying under the radar by itself. But he was a guy that had somebody reach out to me on Twitter, actually, an avid watcher of the show. He's like, hey, I haven't heard you talk about any Marshall prospects here. Here, watch Josh Ball. And so I was like, all right, I'll check him out. Wasn't expecting very much. I came away pretty impressed. I think that he's a guy that if you want somebody to be a depth guy that you can work on and develop and better that technique, better the footwork a little bit, and be a starter after a year or two, he's definitely a guy I'm looking at day 3.
Yeah. And that's probably about where the Broncos should be looking at offensive tackle depth. And quite honestly, Cordell Volson is a guy that I really like as far as the developmental right tackle, just because it'd be so much fun to watch Garrett Bowles and Garrett Bowles 2.0 playing on the same offensive line, driving.
Spider-Man meme, man.
Huh?
It's like the Spider-Man meme, just between them, you just be big, beefy guys in the middle. And not to derail the conversation or anything, I just want to address this. Everybody in the chat saying that Denver won't move on from Patrick. Don't speak in absolutes right now. It's just not a great thing to do. Maybe they won't let Patrick go, but he's a restricted free agent that at the same time, if they tender him, he'll be up for an unrestricted contract at the same time that Cortland Sutton is. They could very well tender Tim Patrick, use him as trade bait to get more draft darts that George Payton likes to have.
Yeah,
I think it will happen, but it's definitely a high possibility.
Only Sith deal in absolutes is what James Candle coming in here.
I should always deal in absolutes then, because the Sith are so much better than the Jedi. Which, by the way, my wife ordered me, off topic, deals with this. My wife ordered me a lightsaber for my birthday just a couple months ago, and it should be here pretty soon. Got a couple weeks still as they build it and everything. That's definitely something that I'm going to have sitting next to me and have to show off on the pod after I do.
Absolutely, man. I love it. Love it. All right. So where are we at? Oh, all right. Robert Jones, interior defensive lineman of Middle Tennessee State.
Real quick, I want to say welcome to Nate. He's a first time caller. And we're always glad to have you and always glad to have first time people joining us in the show. I hope you like it. Hope you enjoy it and hope we see you again.
NZ living, and I'm not exactly sure what that was at. Come back to us there. But I appreciate you for joining the show, man. So interior defensive line, another sneaky area of need for the Denver Broncos. Got a couple of guys here that I want to run by you, in Robert Jones from Middle Tennessee State and Mustafa Johnson from CU, University of Colorado.
One's interior offensive line, one's interior defensive line.
Oh, so I've got him. I must have written something backwards. That's
Jones is an offensive guard.
Okay.
Out of Middle Tennessee. He's got pretty good size, got pretty good movement skills. The technique there still needs to be a little bit worked on. He was one guy I know, Dante Smith out of East Carolina, got a lot of attention for what the work he did as at the Senior Bowl. But Robert Jones had a really good week as well there, and definitely helped himself. He's a guy I'd be looking for. Then Mustafa Johnson, the interior defensive lineman, he'd be great if he didn't have arms like this. He's kind of got
T-Rex arms.
Has good explosion. Not the best of versatility, but enough there to not be to completely shun him because of it. But yeah, it's just if you have the explosion that he has, you want a little bit longer arms, and so it's just kind of can be a little bit counterproductive on his tape.
So is this a guy that you think can potentially? So, like I said, the Broncos have a sneaky area of need here on the interior defensive line. Jarrell Casey, his future is uncertain. Shelby Harris as well. They're going to get Mike Purcell back off of the injury, but then you have Draymond Jones and McTelvin Agim. Deshaun Williams is another option there. Demarcus Walker's probably on the outside looking in. So you've got four guys that are come back from this team. Is Mustafa Johnson a guy that can kind of fill that Shelby Harris role as a 3 to 5 technique defensive lineman that can create some interior pass pressure with it while also being a little bit better against the run, quite honestly?
Well, obviously not to that level, but I definitely could think he can fill that sort of role. That's what he's best at. I mentioned that he doesn't have versatility. He's a one gap scheme only. That's what Vic Fangio's defensive front is outside of Mike Purcell. Is a one gap attack. And he's got to be in that 3 to 5 technique. You don't want him farther inside. You don't want him farther outside. You want him rushing off the outside shoulder of the guard is ideal. Letting him use his explosion to try to split that gap. He's going to get caught quite a bit and shoved around, but he's not a guy that you want out there against the run either. But so in a way, he can kind of fill that role, but not an ideal person to fill that, I guess.
Okay, where are you looking at potentially picking him up? Is he a late day 3 kind of a prospect?
Yeah, definitely. I actually think that he can go undrafted. He would be a little bit of a developmental guy. See if he can improve his technique a little bit to overcome his shortcomings with arm length.
Minimum arm length for interior defensive line, 33 inches?
It really depends on what role you're looking for and what scheme. 2-gapping nose tackles, typically it's about nothing shorter than 32. On average, it's about 33 and a half, 34, that range. Kind of similar to tackles, really.
Right. So another thing here, guys, and this is something that people don't necessarily understand, that these measurements, like the minimum requirement, again, it's like the quarterback that goes in the 6th round that nobody ever thought of, and Tom Brady and becoming the greatest quarterback ever. That's an outlier. So there are guys. What's that? The kid from Kansas State that had 30-inch arms, that edge rusher. Can't remember his Wyatt Hewart. He could potentially have some success with the twitch and stuff like that. But you have a benchmark for a reason because,
he's not that twitchy.
Oh, okay. Anyways, so regardless, the fact of the matter is this: the benchmark is set for a reason, because guys that don't meet that benchmark potentially are more than likely going to fail at that position in the NFL level. So you want to see 33-inch arms at the offensive tackle position because you want to have that length to get the better punch to keep the guys away from getting into your chest plate. Guys with bigger wingspans at the linebacker position, you want to have guys that have a wider wingspan so they can reach out and get around. They become better tacklers because because they can wrap up better. You have longer arms, wider wingspan. You can wrap up better and get guys to the ground a little bit better. There are minimum requirements. They're a benchmark more than anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can fail. So Mustafa Johnson, even despite having those short arms, could potentially turn into a guy that could be a quality player. Now, Eric, go ahead and expand on that.
I was just going to say, if one of those exceptions is a great one, is Elvis Dumervil.
Yep.
He didn't meet the length or size requirements for it, and he fell in the draft. Denver got him, and he got a steal. The biggest thing is if you don't meet height requirements, or size requirements, is you got to put in extra work.
Yep.
There was a big time guy, I can't remember what his name was, who had shorter arms, was an edge rusher. This is like late 2000s, like 2007, 2008. Got drafted in top 15, and he had like 30.5-inch arms or 31.5-inch arms, something like that. And he just tore it up in the college game because he just avoided contact and was able to just slip by blockers and get a bunch of sacks and ended up failing in it. Joe Thomas, offensive tackle, that's the common one. His offensive tackles, 34-inch arms for offensive tackles. A lot of teams have it down to 33-inch now. Joe Thomas came in at like 32 something, I think it was.
It was like 32 and an eighth, I think.
But yeah, and I saw a list the other day of tackles under 33-inch arms, and there's like 5 names there out of probably hundreds of tackles who came in under that threshold. So yeah, it's just about that exceptions to the rule kind of thing.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's move this forward a little bit because we're still on the interior defensive line. And I want to give a shout out to the Coastal Carolina, living in China. Love listening. Thank you. Thanks, Nate. Anyway, so Coastal Carolina, they actually had a pretty good squad this year. They were a top 15 team there for a little while. They were, I believe, like right at the top 10 with Cincinnati, BYU. They actually gave BYU a run for their money and actually knocked off BYU. But the reason why is because of their defense. That defense was spectacular. They were a top 25 unit defensively this year. And really a big part of that was because of their defensive line. And they have 2 guys that we're going to talk to you guys about here really quick in Taron Jackson, who's an edge defender, and another interior defensive lineman, Jeffrey Gunter, who I know is a big guy for James Campbell here at Mile High Huddle. Eric, between the 2 guys, which one fits the Broncos scheme the best, and who do you want more?
I think that Jeffrey Gunter definitely is the better fit. I think Taron Jackson is kind of more of that 4-3 7-tech end.
Right.
I think he's better in a 3-point stance, not standing up out of a 2-point stance. Jeffrey Gunter, I think he can play an end in the Broncos scheme. He can play an end in the in a 4-3 scheme. So basically, you have kind of a tweener in Gunter, who's that inside outside, depending on what scheme you have. Then you have Taron Jackson, who's kind of just strictly that 4-3 end. So I'll take the little bit more versatile guy. I think Taron Jackson is a little bit of a better prospect, but you got to run that right scheme for him. That's what it is that you just got to look at it like that. And Kenneth Booker, just real quick, came in and said Dumervil had super long arms to make up for how short he was. His arms came in at about 32.5 inches. I can't remember exactly what they were, which is actually below the threshold for edges. Edges you typically want about 33.5 to 34 plus.
But for how short he was, I will actually
how short he was great, but it was definitely it wasn't ideal length, which is why I had him
right. And he used that to his advantage. That lower height with the longer arms for that height threshold, he actually used that to his advantage.
His ability to get leverage and maintain it was phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. John Houston on Super Chat coming in here. Elijah Molden, the sleeper. He plays cornerback, free safety, strong safety. Tyrann Mathieu 2.0. I know that he was a guy that people were – was he at the Senior Bowl? Or am I mistaken here?
Taylor was his teammate.
Okay, sorry about that. I've heard a lot of buzz about Elijah Molden as far as being a versatile defensive chess piece that you could use. A day 3 kind of a guy.
Elijah Molden? No. Day 2. Second round. He's a nickel corner. I don't like him so much playing deeper off the ball like Mathieu, where he's better off at safety. Elijah Molden's a slot corner. You want to put him in the slot. You can even try him out on boundary. He's got the physical ability to compete at the catch point and not get bullied by bigger receivers. I really like Elijah Molden. He's a round 2 corner. Okay,
wow, that's pretty high praise there because I've like I said, I've heard some stuff about him being a day 3 guy, early day 3, round 3, round 4 kind of a player. It's just a versatile chess piece, and I have heard Tyrann Mathieu comparisons to him as well. Let's see here. Where are we at? Edge defenders here. There's another guy here that, Eric, I really want you to talk about because he had an amazing Senior Bowl, showing some burst, showing some bend, showing the ability to get to the passer at will in William Bradley King from Baylor. This kid is phenomenal. Eric, go ahead.
Okay, so going into the Senior Bowl, I actually liked him quite a bit. He was a sleeper of mine before the Senior Bowl, and I thought he would really help himself at the Senior Bowl, and he did. He showed the versatility to play up in a 2-point stance, play in handed a 3-point stance. He is a little bit more explosive, handed the dirt in a compact stance. But yeah, I definitely think the versatility is there, and he's got good length. I can't remember exactly what he measured in at the Senior Bowl, but he's long. He's got that height. He's got long legs. He's another one who he's similar to Dummerville in the fact that he likes to use leverage to win. But he's got good athleticism to get around the corner, and he's able to convert speed to power pretty well. That's probably the one of the bigger weaknesses I have with him is his dealing with power. And he also can kind of get a little overly focused on where the ball is and miss blockers in front of him and just kind of get taken out of the play because he just doesn't see him. Yeah. It's blindsided, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a pretty fair assessment. I'm going to grab this question here from Robert Cazzo. I'm going to switch up the script on you just a little bit here, Eric. Is safety a definite need in 2021? And if you listen to me, listen to us actually. Yes, safety is a definite need in 2021, and it's not because of Justin. Well, really, it is. Justin Simmons his future is uncertain. He's probably going to potentially get franchise tagged. I'm hoping they're going to get a long-term deal done here soon. Kareem Jackson going into the last year of his deal. It's actually an option deal, so the Broncos have the option to decline that and jettison him this year as well. But also behind that, I mean, Will Parks came in and provided some decent depth at the safety position, but Trey Marshall was not good. Elijah Holder was not good.
And he's been waived.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. He got waived. So safety depth is definitely a need. And again, like I said, we stand Richie Grant in this house. Hamza Nezreal-Dean, Richard LeCount. There's Andre Cisco as well as far as the front end of the safety class. Obviously, Trevon Moehrig is – I haven't seen –
Stearns, James Wiggins.
Yeah, James Wiggins. There's a lot of high-quality safeties here. But we're talking sleepers here. And Eric, there is a couple here that you have in Christian Uphoff from Illinois State and Damar Hamlin, the safety who is actually Paris Ford's teammate at Pittsburgh. Why don't you speak about those guys? And Damar Hamlin actually had a huge Senior Bowl, by the way. He helped himself a lot this last week.
He did. I think he's probably – I think his versatility doesn't get mentioned much because of Paris Ford being on the team. But Damar Hamlin, he can drop down. He's a former receiver or cornerback. I can't remember which before transferring over to safety. Can drop down, play in the nickel, be that slot corner for you if needed. Can drop and play in split zones. He can play single high. He's got good range. His issues do happen to show up a little bit more when he's coming downhill. Again, he's kind of like William Bradley King. He can get a little bit over-focused on where the ball is and miss a blocker coming his way and just get blown up. Very invincible. Did you ever see that movie with Mark Wahlberg being the guy with the Eagles? That one special teams play where he's just focused, kind of stops.
Vincent Papali.
Vincent Papali. That was the guy's name I was trying to think of. Damar Hamlin kind of has that happen to him quite a bit when it comes against the run. But yeah, farther away from the line of scrimmage, I really like him. The versatility, I really like. The ball skills, he's got all those traits. It's just some issues against the run.
Yeah. What about Christian Uphoff? This is a name that I'm not familiar with.
Illinois State corner. He's just a kind of a jack of all trades type. The versatility is really good with him, but the athleticism is kind of lacking. Does it really well when seeing the stuff, keeping plays in front of him and coming downhill for it, which, that's very Vic Fangio scheme like. As a later round guy, he can definitely come in and add competition for the depth. I don't see much potential to be a top 2 guy, so a starter for them, but there's some stuff there that you can work with, and if you can develop him, he can be that number 3 safety for you, spot starter if needed, and it just all comes back to just the limited athleticism just kind of concerns you on the back end.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point there. John Houston coming in here. Let's see. John, you got that? Thank you. I'll just go keys off here. John jumping in here. Caleb Farley's ball skills are crazy, but his injuries, ... Yeah, he had a torn ACL and some back spasms, if I recall correctly, and he didn't actually play this year. He opted out. The thing that I like about Caleb Farley is his patience and his fluidity in his back pedal and the ability to flip his hips not only side to side, but vertically. So to drop his back foot and click and close without having a false step and keeping his back angle correct and driving on the football vertically. Caleb Farley fits so much better in Vic Fangio's scheme than Patrick Surtain does.
He's that ideal off zone match quarter scheme corner.
He really is. And whereas Surtain, yeah, you could see him in an off-ball man scheme or potentially as a turn your hips early within the snap and even before the snap and turn and run that way. But as a press man, I mean, the physicality at the point of attack is good for Patrick Surtain, but he's not a guy that's going to have swivel hips and turn and run with people at that kind of a level. And he doesn't necessarily click and close. You don't see that on tape, so it's kind of a projection with him. He's going to be more suited as a cover 3 cornerback or an off man cornerback in like a Brian Flores scheme. I think he would fit there pretty well. But Caleb Farley, there's some scheme versatility to him because I think that even though he's not very good in press, he gets bullied at the line of scrimmage really bad. He drops back vertically very well. He clicks and closes very well. And his hips are fluid enough where he can turn and run with guys and get vertical in the route stem and then still be able to get that foot in the ground and drive and run the route for the cornerback. I love Caleb Farley. This is my top cornerback in the class, guys.
And his injuries, while they are a little bit of a red flag, they're not super concerning to me. Just pretty much a little bit standard stuff that quite a few college athletes have dealt with throughout their careers or throughout the years and gone on to be successful in the NFL. The scheme versatility, as Lance pointed to, I think is there. I don't think he's a press man guy, but he can definitely play bail technique. He could definitely play off man, off zone. And depending on the receiver, he can play press. Bigger guys are going to bully him a little bit better. He just plays so well with his eyes on the ball and eyes on the quarterback that man is just kind of a little bit concerning because you don't want his back to the quarterback. And Surtain is just the complete opposite of that. He just does so well with his back to the quarterback, reading the receiver. But when he's having to read the quarterback, the few times he's had to do it, it's just been kind of not the best outcomes.
Yeah, and as Dylan says here, Fangio does like versatility, especially with his defensive backs. There was a really good question. It was from Robert Smith earlier. It was before the John Houston comment, asking, do safeties play more roles than cornerbacks? Well, depending on the scheme, yeah, absolutely they do. Yeah. Quite honestly, they should play more roles than a cornerback just all the time. You can drop them down in the box, play them in the slot. You can play them potentially play them at the quarterback position. You have 2 deep safety. You have a single high safety. If you have a guy that can play pretty much in any position, where you have that single high roamer with the range that can run sideline to sideline, like an Earl Thomas or an Ed Reed, for example. You might have some more physical guys like a Justin Simmons who has the range to be able to play single high if he has to, but does very well driving on the football vertically. You got to have some coverage guys like a Kareem Jackson, for example, who does pretty well in man coverage, can drop down into the slot, play in the box as well with some physicality. Like there's a lot to like about the safety position and how versatile you can have, especially with a guy with the right size and athleticism benchmarks. You can have him play all over the defensive front and still have success. Whereas most cornerbacks, they are not all the time, oftentimes limited to a singular role. There's boundary cornerbacks. You have some guys that can jump down to the nickel, but for the most part, the role that they have is the role that they have. Like,
yeah, I was going to oversimplify this and say that from your safeties, you have 2 players that really, depending on the defense, can have to fill up as many as 8 different roles on your defense to as few as 4 or 5 different roles on your defense. At cornerback, you're typically looking at 1, maybe 2 roles.
Yep.
Boundary guy, and then maybe a guy who plays the boundary and then kicks into the slot. And that actually leads me to a comment here from Clifton Harris about Gary Vincent Jr. out of LSU. I know, Lance, you and I have talked about him privately a little bit. Yep. He says he can play cornerback 1 slot, cornerback 2 safety, just small like Darrell Green. I disagree. I don't think that he can play on the boundary. No, I've just seen him too many times get bullied by bigger and get bullied at the catch point. Definitely a slot guy that you can match slot receivers, can match just about any type of receiver out of the slot. But you get him matched up against bigger guys, he definitely gets bullied about, and that's what you're going to be seeing most often when on the outside. And then playing him at safety, I can kind of see that because he does so well reading the plays before him. But you don't want to take him from what he does best. You want to keep him close to the line of not close to the line of scrimmage. You want to keep him in the slot and just let him do work there. I really like the prospect. I know actually John and we actually talked about this. I think it was last night about it because Kerry Vincent Jr. made my 3 bad fits for the Broncos, and it's simply because that Denver's got plenty of options at nickel corner. They don't need another one. They got to find answers on the boundary, and I don't think that's him.
No, and he's not going to be a two deep safety like what you see with Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons. He's got the range to play single high though, which would be a high quality aspect for a team that is a cover 3 or cover 1 team primarily. So that's something to just kind of keep an eye on. I do like Kerry Vincent Jr. though. He's one of my favorite cornerbacks on day 2, potentially. The top end of the 3rd round. He's going to go in the 3rd round. At least that's my opinion on that. It's where he should go. Speaking of quarterbacks, so we got one here. Kelvin Joseph, the cornerback from Kentucky. Eric, is he a scheme fit for the Denver Broncos, or is this a guy that is going to be more that cover 3 or cover 1 press man kind of a guy?
I like his versatility, really. I think that there's enough there that he can work in press, but I like it. I like him more playing off. I think cover 3 is ideal for him. A off-zone cover 3. But he can definitely work in Vic Fangio's cover 2, the match quarters that they run. He's one of those guys that does very well keeping things in front of him, reading the quarterback, reading where the ball's going, and then reacting.
Yeah. All right. Another super chat. John jumping in here all night, man. Holy cow. Pass on Dylan Moses if he falls to the 2nd round. Baron Browning, the linebacker from Ohio State in the 2nd round. He's getting the buzz. He had a huge Senior Bowl,
yes.
Very versatile kind of a guy, probably going to be a 2nd round pick. Cameron McGrone as well from Michigan is going to be another guy that you could look at there. Dylan Moses, I'm not sure about him. I really am not, because you see the athleticism, you just don't see it in coverage. And he's not a very good coverage linebacker. There's a lot of questions about that, but he is sideline to sideline, very physical in the running game. I like him in that aspect, but with the Broncos needing another guy to come in and fill an athletic coverage linebacker role, Baron Browning actually fits there. So does Justin Hilliard, his teammate from Ohio State, who is actually probably going to go round 5, round 6, somewhere around in there.
Dylan Moses' big issue is that he just overthinks, doesn't just play. And that's led to a lot of issues. He's definitely shown flashes in coverage when he just plays. That's what you got to get through to him, is you just got to go out there. You just got to play. Don't overthink things. And it just constantly shows up on his thing. You'll see him start to drop back in coverage, and then he'll see something. He'll come up a little bit, drop back. Like, just play. Just do your role. Baron Browning, he just plays. He's got the athleticism to cover up for mistakes, which Dylan Moses doesn't, which could be an issue as well with there. And Baron Browning, if the question is in the 2nd, I would take Baron Browning over Dylan Moses, in a heartbeat. I think Browning is actually probably a top 5 linebacker in this class, man. He's so good. He can do whatever you want. He's sideline to sideline range. He can take and shed blocks. He can cover. He can match up in zone. Or take zones. He can match up man on man. Just anything. Any blitz. He can do it all for you.
Yeah. Speaking of linebackers here, we got one more. I think we've pretty much hit everybody, other than Patrick Johnson from Tulane, Jake Curhan, offensive tackle from Cal. But I'm going to get this Anthony Hines, linebacker from Texas A&M. What do you think about him?
Opted out this year. If you're looking for a cover specialist, he's your guy. Don't let him come downhill, take on blocks, because you'll be MIA.
How about Patrick Johnson, the edge from Tulane?
I like him. He's one of those guys where the length is actually going to be important for him. It's just he doesn't have the ideal length to stand up fully on the edge, so it makes it harder to play. But he's got the versatility. I think he's going to end up being kind of a Kyle Van Noy type linebacker that will come down and blitz, handle certain coverages, be good against the run, because his length is all right for that. It's just I think I read somewhere that he came in with like 31-inch arms or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Just liking that length for a full-time edge spot. But yeah, I like him. I like the versatility he brings, and definitely if Fangio's looking for that hybrid player late who can drop into coverage, get after the quarterback from the edge position, I mean, he makes sense there but just again, it's just the length. Leonard Floyd is the one who went for that. Justin Hollins was the first attempt in Denver. They both were a little bit longer than Patrick Johnson is, so Fangio definitely values that length.
Yeah. How about Jake Curhan, the offensive tackle from California? This is the last guy that we have on our list before we get out of here.
He's a jack of all trades type. He does all of it pretty well. He's a guy that I think could be a solid starter in the NFL. If you can upgrade him, you upgrade him and move him to depth, but you're not actively hunting to upgrade him. Jack of all trades type, as I said, that's able to play in multiple scheme, has that scheme versatility. I do like him a little bit better in man gap or power gap schemes over outside zone, wide zones, the kind of stuff. Just because some of the times the lateral movement can be a little bit clunky, but definitely is fixable, bettering his footwork, and just doing certain drills to better the lateral agility.
Okay, so out of all the guys, this last question before we go into the matters of business here, and John, I'll take over from here. Who's your favorite guy on the list that we talked about so far? Your most favorite one. This is where it gets fun, guys, because Erick has a lot of guys that he really likes, and I'm not kidding you. He sent me 31 players earlier today, and he's like, "Go through this list and find some guys you want to talk about." And I'm like,
and I could have thought of many more too.
Yeah,
Erick, all day three undrafted guys. My favorite one on the list that I sent you, the one I'd like to see in Denver the most is Davis Mills.
Okay,
I think he'd be that ideal kind of guy that's drafted probably late round 3, round 4 to give competition for Drew Lock. The one I like the most though,
easy. I can see the steam coming out of your ears. Don't think too hard.
Damar Hamlin.
I
remember watching him. I remember watching him last year and absolutely fall in love with his tape. I've been a big fan of his for a while. So yeah, it's definitely got to go to him. Jeffrey Gunter is a close second. So is CJ Maribel.
Yeah. Cordell Volson, after watching him the other day, and I watched 4 or 5 different games of him, and he's the guy we're talking about.
One.
Say what?
I'm pouting now. You made me pick one, and I'm pouting.
I knew that's exactly why I did this, because I knew that I was going to put you in a bad mood and you're going to be upset about it. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Thank you all for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you guys are catching this info. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Sanderson MHH for me, and for Erick at Erick Trickel. Also, the guy behind the keys at John K MHH. That's Bawana Beast. Make sure you go and follow him as well. While you're at it, follow at DVDD_pod. It's the easiest way to keep up with what's going on with the Dove Valley Deep Divers. Follow at Mile High Huddle for instant news and analysis on your Denver Broncos from your favorite personalities like me, like Erick, Nick, Carl, Chad, Zach, Luke, the whole gang at Mile High Huddle. It's the easiest way to keep up with what's going on with your Denver Broncos there. Guys, if you are financially in a position able to do so, head on over huddleuppod.com, get yourself a hat, get yourself a t-shirt. I got a hoodie on right here. There's a face mask. You got coffee cups. There's a onesie for your baby, anything for your guys, for your gals, great birthday presents, stuff like that. Whatever suits your fancy, find it, huddleuppod.com. Facebook supporters, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Become a supporter. Click that blue supporter button. Get Kelberman's Corner every Sunday. I think it's at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, I believe, is when that drops on Facebook. Go get that. Hot takes that hold water. Let's see here. If you guys are not financially able to do so, or if you just don't necessarily want to do so, the 3 easiest things you guys can do to help support and grow the show is subscribe wherever you guys are watching this. Like I said, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, it does not matter. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video you guys see. Click those little thumbs up, as Chris Hernandez likes to say. And if you love it, share it. Give it in front of as many Broncos fans as humanly possible, because the more eyes that sees our content, the easier it is for us to grow. Last thing here, again, thank you to our presenting sponsor of the show, Manscaped. Head on over to manscaped.com. Use the promo code HUDDLE for 20% off and free shipping on any orders at Manscaped. Get yourself a fingernail kit. I got some stuff coming. I think I got a lawnmower coming here soon. They've got cologne. They've got some wipes for your stuff. They got the Shed travel bag. The pair of underwear that they send with that is like the most comfortable pair of underwear you're ever going to put on.
Comfortable and soft.
Freaking amazing. Anyways, manscaped.com, guys. Use the code HUDDLE, 20% off, free shipping on any of your orders there. Now that we're done with all of that, Erick, is a great show, man. And the insight that you have, is there anything else here? Do you have any last words before we get out of here?
Actually, I got a couple things of them, couple matters of business as well. First of all, I want to say welcome to the staff, Kenneth Booker. Glad you're able to join us.
Absolutely.
You definitely nailed that article out of the first part. It was nice to see Jalen Darden get some exclusive attention there. I am a big fan of Jalen Darden.
Same.
Welcome to staff, and we're definitely looking forward to the work that you continue to put out and everything like that. Second one is Lance and I have been talking. You guys know we do those mock drafts where you guys, the voice, are the GM, kind of come to a collective and everything. We're your scouts. We were talking about it and having about doing something to where one of you guys can win a chance to appear on the pod. We got to run this by with Chad first and everything too. We haven't done that yet. To come onto the pod, and basically what it'd be is you exclusively are running the mock draft as us instead of being a collective with the chat. It's just you yourself asking our takes on different players and coming up with the decisions yourself, and maybe even getting a little bit of grief back depending on if you pick somebody we don't like a little bit. But definitely something that we're talking about. Got to talk to Chad about it, as I said. Something we're looking forward to do. We're also looking forward to having a couple of guests on. Good friend of the podcast, Luke Polglaze. He's looking at trying to get on here in a little bit. Unfortunately for him, right now is getting started on the recruiting stuff for the next year. So he's kind of a little bit busy. He's trying to find time for that. We'll keep you updated there as well. And last thing but not least, just quick thank you for everybody who joins in and stuff, and gives us all the support and stuff like that. We don't say thank you enough for it. And if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So we really appreciate everything that you guys, all the support, all the likes, all the purchases of stuff, the super chats, all that stuff, man. We are super appreciative of that. And even if you don't always agree with us, we still like your support, and we like the back and forth that we have with you guys here in the chat. So thank you guys for tuning in every single week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If, like Eric said, if it weren't for you guys and joining in with us, just join us live.
He'd be working at a stripper joint.
Well, I don't know. I fancy myself as your friendly neighborhood coke dealer, but that's the inside joke around here.
Actually, went there.
I do. I go there all the time, man. I go there all the time.
Just for legal purposes, he delivers for the Coca-Cola drink company.
Yes,
just for legal purposes.
Yes, my day job is I work for Coca-Cola, so I am your friendly neighborhood Coke dealer, and it's the greatest dad joke ever. But anyways, guys, like I said, thank you all, and we appreciate every single one of you guys, Dylan, Kenneth, the whole crew, everybody that jumps in, Gary Smith as well, Nate coming in from China, everybody. Thank you all for joining the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. It's going to do it for us tonight. You all stay safe. Please stay safe. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. Oh, Eric, before we get out of here, who you got winning the Super Bowl?
Go Chiefs.
Oh, you said
I can't bring myself. Sorry, guys. I don't want to get away for this, man. I can't get past Tom Brady. I really can't. And despite having to play against the Chiefs and everything, I really like Patrick Mahomes. I really like him. I really like Chris Jones. I like Mitchell Schwartz. I like a lot of players that they have on their team and everything. So it's I just can't get over Tom Brady. Just him being a snake oil salesman. It's beyond football as to why I don't like him. And I can't root for him to win, even though it's the Chiefs. Now, if it's the Raiders, that's probably the only way I would.
Yeah, as Dylan said, oh boy.
Oh boy, cut the feed.
Oh boy, cut the feed. And with that, guys, I'm now actually looking for a new co-host to the Dove Valley Deep Divers.
No, you don't get to play that joke.
Oh, I do get to. This is the worst take ever. No. I'd rather see Tom Brady continue to cement his legacy, and I'm going to say this one, and people are not going to like it, as the greatest quarterback that's ever lived and ever played this football game. Go Tom Brady. Go Bucks. Screw the Chiefs.
Now cut the feed.
Now we're going to cut the feed. Y'all stay safe. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend.
It's a shame they both can't lose.
I really am rooting for the Meteor. I'm rooting for the Meteor to strike the Raymond James Stadium. So,
anyways, with the way the last year has been, you might get it.
Hey, Yellowstone. Hit me with that so I have to die first. We'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys next week. Same time, same place, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks, guys.